Okay. Well, I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting, the April 16th meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. For those in attendance, if you'd like to have a look at our agenda, there should be some provided to you in the room, and please make note of our mission, as it were, at the bottom of that agenda. First item that we will tackle is the consent agenda approval for the minutes of March 19th.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any none opposed, so that will carry, and we can immediately launch into our new action items here. And the first would be for Rivermont Presbyterian Church. If there's a representative, please come up to the table here, have a seat, and for the record, if you would state your name and address. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Alan B. Howerton, 129 Marvin Place, Lynchburg, Virginia, 24503.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Howerton. Would you like to describe the nature of the project at the church?
The porch floor and the associated framework underneath it is in need of replacement, and that's what we plan to do. That building is used for the college age people, not kids, but college age at that church. And we have noticed not only a little sag, but some give. And I know that I helped one of the people at least 15 years ago shore it up. So it's been shored all it's going to go. So we want to replace the framework, the steps, and the deck itself.
Excellent.
The materials that were submitted.
Yeah, the
brochure
material
here.
we want to use was submitted.
So do you know what the width of that heritage piece is?
I just went by. I got a call, and I went by and took.
That was me.
I got a picture of it. The original flooring is almost 3 inches, just like that.
Okay.
Now there's some mixed in where it
I know. I saw
was
that.
patched from time to time, but and I have a picture of that if you would like to see it. But anyway, it matches up pretty well, and the synthetic product is supposed to last a lot longer than our wood products these days.
Applications Committee?
We have looked at it. One question I have now that I'm looking at this, you're going to have to treat the end of it a little different than having this exposed. You're going to have a band running along the...
Probably have a continuous
because the
piece running across the front.
and I can't remember if it's Aratus or not, but there may be one that doesn't have these grooves. It's just solid. Let me see this. There you go.
Well, they can be. You talking about the bottom groove?
Well, see, it shows these. It actually shows some of these where it's, I guess it's the heritage that doesn't show these. So this would be the only difference. And if you're looking at your brochure, they've got one here that's called the heritage. Let me just go through this a second. And so if you're not going to have a trim piece at the edge, which they usually didn't back then.
I was going to say, if we're copying what they did, it would be more authentic to use it as is.
Well, see, it doesn't show it on. Oh, here you go. So this is what you're showing me here. Look, let me just show you this. This is what you're showing me. The classic with these in it. Okay, so you know what I'm saying? So if you have that as your end, you're going to see this, which you don't want to see. So what you have to do is go to one of these. This is the heritage. See, this is what you want there. You want the heritage as opposed to this, so you will not see that these don't have this little groove.
I'm not sure of the availability, but we can check on that.
They had another one here, hold on. I thought I saw a different one. Heritage. I guess this is the same thing. So what I would say, so if you use this one, you have to have a trim
An
piece.
edge piece.
An edge piece. So,
Yeah.
let me just grab this so I can read this properly. All right. I move that this, and you are painting it, correct?
It's gray, and we are going with gray. Because gray is really the traditional, that's what Mark wants to do. He's our
Right.
local architect. And gray was more, I think, more authentic than the brown anyway.
I move that this be approved with the following conditions. That if the Eritis Classic is used, as was shown at this meeting, that it has to be trimmed so as not to show the edge of the wood. We would prefer the Eritis Heritage, in which case you would not have to use an end trim piece, which is more in keeping with the historic porch profiles.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
No? Motion, do you have any questions for us, Mr. Howard, regarding that?
No. No.
Very
I'll keep
good.
my mouth shut.
Excellent. Well, best of luck on your work.
Thank
Sure,
you.
it will look nice and be a lot safer too as well.
It will. It will.
Excellent.
It needs to happen.
Yes.
And pretty soon.
Excellent.
Can I actually hold on to that brochure?
What's that?
Can I hold on to that brochure? That was submitted with the application. Thank you.
You know, the reason I would recommend the other one is because when you have those trim boards, you know, they'll have a tendency, especially on the, you know, when you come up to that last step, those kind of have a tendency to do that sort of thing, so. And I don't know if the other one is more expensive or not, but
I think we were looking at availability as much as anything. Okay, we'll work that out.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Next item we have on the agenda is regarding 505 Washington Street. If there's a representative, please come forward, have a seat at the table, and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Dennis Newton. I live at 505 Washington Street, and that's where the handrail is hopefully going to be placed.
Welcome.
Do you have a picture up there of my house, or?
Did you submit
You
one?
may not.
no, I don't think there was one.
Yeah, I think we just saw other.
Here, let me, I brought a picture if you want to hand this.
I Googled it.
I can also pull it up.
Sure. There you go.
Anyway, the goal is to get a strong handrail that has a good grip and meets code. Quite frankly, my friends are getting old; they can't get up and down the stairs. Plus, we have some home tours and stuff, so we have a lot of guests coming into the house. So we need something for safety. And we've selected a handrail to be installed. That it's fabricated as a handrail, so it meets all the required codes and all the safety requirements. The type of house we have with those masonry sidewalls, they never, from what I've seen, typically had handrails. So we're putting something in that was not something that was typically designed with that type of steps, going up to a house. So what we're getting is it's a handrail. We're going to get it. It's going to be powder coated, a flat black. So it's kind of non-intrusive, but yet it does match the iron fencing in front of the house. and it's rugged and weather resistant. Yeah, there it is, without the handrail. Is there anything else I need to say?
No, that would be it. Applications come in.
Can you, Robin, or who's ever got these pictures up here, could you go down to one of the pictures he had with his application?
Oh, yeah, in the application. That's the
going.
one we're getting. But there are many houses
Okay,
in the
that
neighborhood.
one right there. Any reason, we're going to approve the one you did, I think. But this, the way we always look at this is the less subtle it is, the better. Especially in your house, you've got these beautiful stone, that beautiful stone porch. And to me, this is less obtrusive. It sort of disappears. It's very thin and easy. And my question to you is why you chose the one you chose instead of something like this. Because this would disappear a lot easier than the other one would.
Well, because it's strong and rugged. There are many houses in the neighborhood that have, if you go down, I guess there are just a selection of homes in the area where they do have similar, handrails that we're planning on putting in. They're all over the neighborhood.
You just don't feel they're strong enough?
I don't think so.
All right. That's what I thought. But,
They
I move that
may
it be
look okay,
approved.
but I wouldn't want to rely on it personally.
I move that it be approved as submitted.
Second.
And you're only putting one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I approve, wait, let me amend that. I move that it be approved as submitted with one rail on the right side?
That's the plan.
Either side. One rail on
Yeah,
either.
either side. Right now, I'm planning on the right-hand side because the concrete steps look like they're in better condition.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion passes. Mr. Newton, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate that. Moving on, we have an action item regarding 914 Harrison Street. If we could have a representative please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and the nature of your project.
My name's Elliot Pope. 914 Harrison Street's the project, but that's not where I live since it's condemned right now. I live at 910 New Hampshire. And we're really excited about this project. It's kind of a family project. My brother-in-law is putting in some money, and I'm helping out with getting things going. My grandpa always taught me buy the worst house on the street, and that's what we did, as you can see. My wife and I are really excited. We love historical stuff. We're excited about kind of bringing this house back to life. We've always worked on stuff, both of us, since we were, we grew up working on stuff. And we really like redoing old stuff instead of just building new stuff. So we're really excited. As you can see from the application, there's quite a number of things. From what I can tell, and first of all, let me say I really appreciate being able to get in here today. I don't know if you guys are aware, but it's kind of a last-minute thing. Everything I've worked with the city, everybody's been great, and I didn't realize kind of the process for getting in to speak to you guys, so thank you.
We're glad you're here.
The biggest structural problem with the house, well, there's two structural problems, is the roof is collapsing into the middle. You can see on a few pictures it's collapsing in the center. And then also around almost the entire edges, serious water damage from hidden gutters that have failed. And so I don't know if you want me to address each of the items separately or if you have questions about them. But kind of our vision overall is we love historical stuff, and kind of what we want to do is like maintain the authentic architecture while also getting in modern conveniences like insulation and heat and air, Wi-Fi, things that people want in their home now, but also appreciating. And great news, most of the wood floors we're going to be able to save, so we're really excited about that. There's a couple spots where the water got to it, but most of it on the inside we'll be able to save the wood floors. So,
How would you like to handle these for your end? Just one at a time, all together?
We looked at it. Everything you want to do, we'll recommend approval except for one, and that is the shingles on the porch roof. The reason being is the roof is not, you should have at least a 312 pitch on your porch, or any roof for a shingle, and yours is less than that.
okay.
So that's why it's metal.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I actually just had this problem when, not this storm we had last night, but a few weeks ago we had a storm, and my neighbor, little old lady, she came up to me and knocked on my door, and she said, all my shingles blew off my porch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
They just get under there.
Gets
And
underneath
the
it.
same thing
Yeah.
with rain. It gets under there, it gets caught. So,
Yeah.
As far as the gutters go, you can change out the hidden gutters. I mean, your porch is, the roof is such a wreck now that it's. I understand what you're saying about, we all understand what happens with hidden gutters. I have the same problem.
Yeah.
We like to keep them.
Yeah.
But there are some instances where it's, in this particular case, it's, are they all hidden gutters now?
They are. There's two different kinds up there. So at some point, somebody had done something to try and fix it in the past, but both the older ones and the newer ones are both leaking at this point.
Okay. Do you know the shingle you're going to put on the roof?
I put down on there architectural, I want to say charcoal was the color, which honestly, and I wanted to ask you guys about this too, we're okay with whatever. We were trying to get a shingle that we thought matched like slate as much as possible. If you guys have like
there is one.
suggestions.
It's called Grand Manor, but you're not going to like the price.
No, probably not.
I was going through that right now for a client, and I didn't realize how expensive they are.
Yeah. So the one we have on there, I looked on Gaff, and they had, I think it was charcoal was the color for the architectural shingles. And I did want to ask you guys also if you have suggestions, if you are going to approve the gutter, like for what kind of gutter. I know U-shape was in the historical.
If you want to, a lot of times we have, what do you call the people for the neighborhoods? Advocates. We have advocates for the neighborhood. So if you like, I'll volunteer. I don't know. I don't think there is one for his neighborhood. So I'll volunteer that. Give you my name.
Great.
And you can. You feel free to call, and I can answer your questions. Insulation is one to be careful about, what you do with insulation on these old houses. So that's one you might want to call me about, and we can talk about that to save you any future headaches.
Yeah. I'd love to sit down and get coffee sometime.
Yeah,
if you
we can
wouldn't
do
mind,
that. And
talk
I'll just
about
tell you
pitfalls.
have you ever done this? I'm assuming this is the first one you're doing like this?
This big, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
we've done little things here and there, never in an actual historical district. Our house on New Hampshire, it's not this old, it's like 1950, and we've done what we think is some cool stuff, but nothing quite to this extent.
Yeah, you got to be careful on houses like this. People try to get them too airtight with blown-in, expanding insulation, and that actually rots out your gutters and,
Okay.
your
Siding.
sheathing and things like that. So I move that it be approved as submitted, with the exception of the shingles on the porch, which would have to be metal, period.
Standing seam as was.
Standing seam, which, to
Just
duplicate
new.
what's there.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion on either of the four items? Hearing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Congratulations. When
Yeah.
I first went by there, before you made an application, I said, how did this guy get a demo permit for this house without coming to us first? That doesn't what's going on.
Any specific else? Or are you going to talk with him as the advocate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everything he was asking for is within the guidelines, except for that, well, I mean, it doesn't talk about that in the guidelines about the pitch of the roof, but that's just an architectural thing.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
You know, to prevent you from having problems in the future.
Yeah.
Okay?
Excellent.
You're ready to go, and I don't have a card or anything, but if you call, who would she call you?
My number.
Okay.
Yeah, just call her and she'll get you in touch
I
with
think
me.
it's also got our contact info on the website.
It does.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
might
is.
have that.
There's a roster on
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck on that.
Have a good one.
Absolutely. Let's see, other item on here is we have an update. Future HPC agendas will be distributed to the commission by SharePoint only.
So I was
Which
hoping that
Ann
would
discussed.
get you guys to all click the SharePoint link and check that it worked.
So it works. I can go to it, but it takes me through a web browser to get there, as opposed to if I try to get the SharePoint app, I can't go through the SharePoint
And I think,
app.
are you using, actually, it looks like you've got a newer iPad
I
or
don't know,
tablet.
my brother-in-law, he didn't give it to me. I kind of.
It's not one of the city iPads, though.
No.
So the city iPads are older, and the SharePoint app will not work on them, so you have to use it through a browser.
Okay.
If that is absolutely horrible, let me know, and we can keep using Dropbox. I'd rather get us away from that, though.
You say
Just for
you emailed us
space
the link?
purposes, secure, so stuff doesn't get removed.
I don't remember.
It must have fallen into.
I will.
my,
How about I resend it?
Email for you.
After today's meeting, I will resend that link, and if you guys could try it in the next couple weeks before I get the next agenda out.
Spam box, so
Okay,
if you send it again, I'll be able to look at both. And
Sure.
close it out.
March 15th.
And there's some stuff on there already, right, so they can.
yeah, I put today's meeting on there.
Click that.
There's some items in there already, so you can look around and see if you know, can find everything okay, and if you can't, you know, let them know.
Yeah, just please pick up the phone if you can't get to your agenda items. Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Then the last item on the agenda today is discussion regarding ordinance changes to notification signs in historic districts, which I think we brought up
We discussed this
before.
a couple meetings ago,
Yeah.
and just last Planning Commission meeting, Planning Commission initiated the changes to the zoning ordinance. So now at this time, it's my job to start drafting what those changes are actually going to say in the ordinance. And I had a few questions on the signs that were discussed. It sounded like you guys were in favor of putting signs up whenever we had an appeal to a historic district. But also there was discussion on signs for major modifications in historic districts, if you remember. And so the questions have kind of come up, you know, exactly what signs are we talking about? For the appeals, I think it might make sense to do the large, white, big notification signs like we do for public hearings, because the appeals are public hearings, and you're trying to let people know. However, the question is then, who puts up the sign? If it's a property owner appealing, they could be required to put the sign up. If it's a neighborhood appealing, like we've had in recent history, I don't think we can allow them to put the sign up on a specific property, or, you know, I don't know how we would require the neighborhood to band together in order to put that sign up, because they're not cheap.
Right.
So those were two questions on the appeals. Are we comfortable with just requiring a property owner who's appealing to put the notification sign up and not the neighborhood? I guess if the neighborhood's appealing, you could assume people are pretty well aware.
Yeah, the issue really was that the neighbors didn't know.
Didn't know about the
And
appeals. Yeah.
so you couldn't depend on them to put a sign up.
Well, what's the size of this? You said that sign was pretty large.
Yeah, it says, I think 48 by 72, Robin?
That sounds right.
If you've seen them around
Now,
town for
they
rezonings,
do rent
Those
them.
rezoning signs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The
that's,
sign companies do rent them. I just learned this myself. I thought you had to buy it, and it would be pretty
No, I think it's,
expensive. They,
I had
they
one.
rent them.
it's a couple hundred though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, I think they're
it's a couple
$250.
$100.
The 250, I think, from the, what's the big sign company here?
McBride.
Right?
McBride, yeah.
Oh.
But that includes them installing it and everything, and then,
Taking
but
it
anyway,
away.
I think the signs only need to be put up if it's a public meeting,
Public hearing.
public hearing, yeah.
However, we will have a public hearing if the neighborhood appeals, but we can't require or allow a group, a neighborhood, to put the sign up, and the city does not have a budget to put it up themselves either.
Yeah, I think if someone is appealing it, like a group of people, then they probably would be responsible for however they would want to advertise that. So I don't think that would be under us.
Okay, so if it's an individual owner who's appealing an HPC decision, are we comfortable writing in there that they would need to put the public hearing signs up for
Yeah,
notification?
I think so, don't you guys?
Okay. So I think that takes care of the appeals questions.
You can't, I mean, a home, I mean, someone else opposing it can't go put a sign in someone else's yard.
Right, yeah,
So
exactly,
they-
that's,
they do that. So they'd have to be responsible for
The neighborhood would
however
have
they
to-
want to deal with it.
yep. So the other category of signs you guys had discussed were for major actions of the HBC, like additions. I was having a hard time figuring out how to draw that line, what constitutes something that's really major, and then again, what kind of sign are you thinking? We don't have staff to go out and put these signs in ourselves.
Well, again, I don't know, you know, that's not a public hearing.
No, it's not.
So do we, who, I mean, you know, I, every time this comes up, I think of Savannah because I've got a place in Savannah, so I go there. And when something's happening, if they're building a new building or if they're changing something, there's always it's like the same size as the zoning, you know, the ones we're just talking about that McBride does. It's huge, like signs like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that, you know, if that's just because they're building something on a lot, but it's always, you know, a huge thing. But and that's probably a public hearing, I would think. So,
Probably.
you know, these aren't public hearings.
Right, and there is language in the zoning ordinance that allows HPC to hold a public hearing if they feel like they're going to make a decision that's against the guidelines, it's going to negatively impact a neighborhood or neighbors in some way. So you have the ability to hold a public hearing if necessary. And
Why
so I'm not sure why you would want, to be honest, I'm not sure why you would want to advertise major projects, assuming you're following the guidelines.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you advertise how would we advertise a public hearing?
Well, the discussion at that meeting in February was to post maybe a real estate size sign, saying that what the project was going to be, like a new addition.
Yeah, it would have to be something, the only major thing I can think of that if it were altering the footprint of a structure, if you're adding to a footprint of a structure.
you know what, I just go back to what I just said. If it's not a public hearing, there's no point in, you know, we do have guidelines. We follow them or we don't.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I don't know that we'd run
personally,
into
I
the
don't think
situation
they're necessary.
that often. Yeah,
Great.
I agree
I will,
with that.
yeah, I will nix
assessment.
that then from any ordinance amendments. All right. Those were all the questions I had on the signs right now, and we're also working on changing the application time period. So hopefully I'll get that written in the next month or so.
Okay, excellent. Any other items that need addressing today? Hearing none, we will adjourn this meeting and meet again May 21st, 2018, 3:45.
Sounds great.
Thank you all.